Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Future of Fitness, a top-rated fitness industry podcast for over 2 years and running. It is 2021, and I am your host, Eric Malzone. I have the absolute pleasure of talking to entrepreneurs, innovators, and cutting-edge technology experts within the fast-paced industries of fitness, wellness, and health sciences. Stop by futureoffitness.co to subscribe and learn more. When you do what you love, running, racing, or simply enjoying the great outdoors, you want to do it for life. Inside Tracker can help. Inside Tracker was founded in 2009 by leading scientists in aging, genetics, and biometrics. Using their patented algorithm, Inside Tracker analyzes your body's data to provide you with a clear picture of what's going on inside you while offering highly personalized, science-backed recommendations for positive diet and lifestyle changes. Okay, time for straight talk. It's time that each single one of us takes responsibility for our own health. Personally, given the results of my Inside Tracker DNA and blood tests, I now have a clear and simple game plan to lower my cholesterol and stave off my family's genetic history of heart disease. The best part is that the plan doesn't include any kind of pharmaceuticals, just personalized nutrition and natural supplementation. Possibly my favorite feature of Inside Tracker is the inner age score, a singular metric that shows me how my biological age compares to my chronological age. They just gamify longevity. It's crazy cool. For a limited time, you can get 25% off the entire Inside Tracker store. Just go to insidetracker.com/future. But wait, there is more. If you're a coach, trainer, registered dietitian, or any other health and wellness practitioner, you can now leverage Inside Tracker services to help your clients perform better than they ever have, and you can offer them discounts while you earn revenue. Inside Tracker Pro is your gateway to offering your clients Inside Tracker, the science-backed, ultra-personalized performance platform trusted by elite athletes and top coaches. Just go to insidetracker.com/future to get more information and enjoy deep discounts. That is insidetracker.com/future. This episode of the Future of Fitness is presented to you by the Fit Tech Club, a business network run by the creators of the Fit Tech Summit, Europe's leading conference devoted to fitness and health technology. Look, friends, the fitness industry is changing faster than ever. The intersection of technology with fitness and health is growing bigger and more dynamic by the minute. Gyms are exploding, figuratively, and their constituent parts are ending up at home, outdoors, on your wrist, or in entirely new places with brilliantly new concepts. Investors are pumping astronomical amounts of money into the market like we've never seen before. The Fit Tech Club believes that collaboration is the advantage to these times of change. That's why the club aims to bring thought leaders together to inspire them by making the right contacts at the right time and giving insights to the industry's most relevant and current trends. Here's what Melanie Lauer, CEO of Kettler and Trisport, says about the Fit Tech Club.
We have joined the Fit Tech Club because it gives us access to the most recent innovations in the industry. It gives us access to a unique network and to potential business partners that help us developing our business further.
If you're interested in the fitness technology game and looking to accelerate your growth, I highly suggest you check out fittechsummit.com/club to learn more. You can join the highly valuable newsletter, apply for the Fit Tech Club itself, or simply learn more or connect with people like me. That's fittechsummit.com/club. All right, we are live. Liz Clark, welcome to the Future of Fitness.
Hi, Eric. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you too. And I don't know how it made me feel when you said you got to be on the Today Show after this. I felt like, like, wow, geez.
You're in good company.
Yeah, it's good company. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to give you a nice warm up here, but that within itself is probably a whole story that we can talk about. But you are now the acting CEO for IHRSA, right? Which has been, a very, very influential organization within the fitness and health industry for a very long time. And you have quite a job to do with that role. So I guess let's just get right into it. Maybe give us a little bit of your background, Liz, and then how you got to be the CEO, and then we'll really kind of dive into, the advocacy for gym owners and everything that's happened over the pandemic and where things stand.
You bet. You bet. So my entire career I've spent in associations, actually. And so I came to Washington, D.C. and started in the chemical industry and went over to the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, where I got a master's degree in international commerce and policy, and then has spent the last decade running government affairs for the candy industry. And a lot of people have found that sort of interesting, going from candy to fitness.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I've always enjoyed both. And that fitness has been such a critical part of my entire life. So to have the opportunity to come and be the CEO of this organization was something that was very, very enticing to me. And it was a very deliberate decision, not only by myself, but the board and the search committee, because what this organization wanted and needed was to pivot this organization where we have focused traditionally on running a trade show, running a magazine. Both of those things are great, but not focused on advocacy. So it was, how do we move an entire industry to focus on advocacy and communications and still deliver these other great products that we do at our association, but do it in a way that can organize and unify our industry and really bring a voice to lawmakers. And unfortunately, we felt the pain when the pandemic hit and we were not at the table to receive relief, and was a very deliberate decision to make the future of the organization be focused on having that voice, being at the table, which is why they deliberately picked somebody that had a background like myself in advocacy and is located in Washington, D.C.
Yeah. How did they find you, Liz? Did you get headhunted? Did you how did this, I mean, it's such like you said, the background just doesn't seem to match the role. I mean, it does when you talk about it, it makes sense, the advocacy side of things and living in DC, but from the candy industry into the health industry, how did someone connect the dots there?
Yeah, you're right. It was a headhunter. And what I had said is I was happy as a clam over there in the candy industry, and we were doing great things. I built that program. I started that program. We had a huge pack, great members, great industry. But so they, recruited me, and it was very enticing again, because this is an even better industry and even more opportunity. And I just fell in love with the board. I fell in love with the search committee, and meeting these members that I meet every day on this listening and learning tour have been just absolutely inspiring. So for me, definitely ended up being a good match, and I hope the industry and the board feel the same way.
Yeah. Tell me about this listening and learning tour. What was that all about?
Well, so I think that IHRSA's been an organization that's been around for 40 years, and it's done things one way. And there are definitely, I would say, an old guard of people that are okay with that. But way more folks in this space want to be more progressive and more front-footed as an organization. So it's important to me that I am listening and learning from folks that are in the industry, maybe people that have been a little disenfranchised and left the industry, have been frustrated, have wanted to go in a different direction for a long time. And so I have a vision of, where I want to take us and what I want to do, but I want to do that together. And I want to do that, with the people that have been in the tent, that have been our biggest supporters, and then with the ones that have left and said, maybe I don't see the value of the organization. We're going to bring the value back, and we're going to do it together.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and these are my words, not yours, but, I think when people look at the fitness industry and been around it for a while, they kind of look at the old boys network, right? And seeing obviously you're a fresh face here, you're doing these tours, you're listening to people. And, I think I've been in the industry for 15 years, prior to the pandemic. So 3 years ago, I was like, you know what, I think it's time. I'm going to go get out of the industry and go try something new. And then to be really honest, as the pandemic started, I was like, whoa, things are getting really interesting now. all this technology rolled in, and things were changing so fast. And when there's that kind of shifting of consumer behavior, there's opportunities that pop up everywhere. So it became really exciting. And then, I just doubled down on this podcast and getting to know what was going on. It was really exciting. So it's good to have you there. But when you hear people, I'm sure you've heard it, but when people talk about the old boys network or the old guard, how do you address that the change is coming?
Well, first I say bring it. But no, listen, the reality is like the old boys network, that's not just this industry. That's the reality of a lot of industries. And it's been the industries that I've been in and been a part of. But we are evolving and we are changing, and we are seeing more and more studios that are women owned and minority owned. And so for me, that's really exciting. And to be able to look at what does that mean for the future, and how do we make sure that we have the most diverse and representative board that's reflective of the industry, of where we are today and where we want to go in the future. So I think that it's important to bring all of those networks together.
Awesome. Well, let's get into the meat of this, Liz. I think over the last 2 years, however long we've been doing this pandemic, I have seen
on 3 years now. Right. I mean, technically, and that's nuts.
That's bananas. So I was a facility owner for 9 years. I owned a few of them, and I sold those in 2017. And personally, I'm very happy I did. But a lot of my friends and colleagues, and some of the best gyms in the world. Like I came from the CrossFit space and the functional fitness space and the boutique space. And, Kelly and Juliet Starrett closed their gym in San Francisco, right? Just to no one's fault, right? These are great community-based gyms that were, just cornerstones of their area and health and fitness of so many people, and just got wiped out. Right. They're like, it doesn't make sense for us to do this anymore. We can't carry on. When you look back over the last 2 or 3 years of the pandemic, what went wrong? How did we go wrong as an industry when we just weren't protected or advocated for at the legislative level?
Well, yeah, I mean, Eric, those stories are terrible. And I think that we're seeing so many of those, and you look to see how we got where we're at. And, what went wrong is that, well, we were one of the first industries to be shut down and one of the last ones to be allowed to open. And throughout all of that, we weren't given any of the monetary relief that we needed to survive, and still haven't received any relief today. We know that 22% of gyms have gone out of business permanently, but when we get our new numbers, our end of the year numbers, we think it's going to be closer to 30%. Oof. So in other words, that's 40,000 clubs across the country, and we're looking to be more like 30,000 across the country, and that's devastating. We've lost $30 billion in revenue. But for me, where I think we're the hardest hit is that these are small businesses that you just talked about in San Francisco, and 80% of our members are small businesses, and these are people that are passionate people that have started these businesses because they want to have a healthier world. And they have mortgaged their houses. They've put up their life savings. They are minority owned, women owned. I mean, just the salt of the earth, cornerstone of what we would want out of an industry. And they've been hit the hardest. And so why did that happen? It was because we weren't organized to be able to advocate for ourselves. We didn't have a unified voice together. We didn't have relationships with the lawmakers that we needed to have. It's like when you are in a relationship, you don't make a relationship overnight. It takes time. And so we organized as sort of quickly as we could, but it was too late at that point, unfortunately. And so here we are continuing to push, at the end here, and we'll see where we go, and where, if we are able to squeeze a little bit more relief, some federal dollars to help us, because we know that with this variant, things are, knocking us down again. And I think what's really scary is, we've been knocked down and we get up. but every time we get up, there's fewer people getting up. And so it's important that we stay unified, that we stay together, but we create this voice and we create these relationships with the people that have the power to help us.
Yeah, it's if anyone, I mean, there's a lot of people listening to the show who, are probably gym owners, one location, maybe two location independents, and they probably figured out by now that we're not in it for the money. I mean, it's a very, very small percentage of these gyms make $1 million or over, right? And you're right. Most of them are usually, like, I think the large majority, you probably know better than I do, are women owned and women run. So it's been a great access point for, small business and, people who have an entrepreneurial itch to kind of get into that world, because the barrier to entry is generally pretty low unless you go, franchising, which can be really expensive. But for the most part, it's been an easy access. And, during the pandemic, I always kind of explain to friends and family, like, you guys don't understand, like, when these small businesses go away, they don't just sprout back up again. Like, if they've been around for 5+ years, it's because it's been a hard 5+ years and they beat the odds. So when these things just go out of business, they're not just going to pop up next week under new ownership, not in the fitness world. So yeah, I'm kind of rambling on my own soapbox here, but when you see, what can you give us as far as optimism moving forward? Where do you think the opportunities are, and how have things changed so far under your watch? People age at different speeds, and the date on your license may not represent your inner biological age at all. If you're looking for ways to extend your health span and slow down the aging process, the keys to health and longevity run in your blood. That's why Inside Tracker provides you with a personalized plan to boost your metabolism, reduce stress, improve sleep, and optimize your health for the long haul. Created by leading scientists in aging, genetics, and biometrics, Inside Tracker analyzes your blood, DNA, and fitness tracking data to identify where you're optimized and, more importantly, where you're not. You'll get a daily action plan with personalized guidance on the right exercise, nutrition, and supplementation for your body. Add InnerAge 2.0 to any plan for a definitive calculation of your true biological age to see how you're aging from the inside out. I was proud to find out I'm a few years younger than I thought I was. For a limited time, you can get 20% off the entire Inside Tracker store. Just go to insidetracker.com/future to check it out, learn more, and get your own. It's insidetracker.com/future. On to the show.
Well, listen, I think that in every crisis, there's an opportunity, right? And so one thing that we have learned through this pandemic is that, unfortunately, and the CDC has said it, that we know that people with diabetes and people that are obese are the people that have the highest risk of dying from COVID and, frankly, many other diseases. And so how do we change that narrative? How do we, as the fitness industry, plug more into exercise being medicine? And how do we marry those two things together? I mean, we know that 1 in 8 Americans has type 2 diabetes, 1 in 4 are considered obese, 1 in 4 are having anxiety and depression. But we know that if you exercise, you can feel good immediately. So what an opportunity we have to tie that together and to change the narrative of what we are really doing for people and how we are really impacting communities in this country in a positive way, that we are preventative medicine. We are taking the burden off of healthcare systems. This country spends somewhere between $2 and $3 trillion on healthcare, but yet we spend $60 billion on incentives to exercise. It's there's such an opportunity to marry those issues together and create the narrative that we are making this world healthier and we're going to make people live longer.
Yeah. And when you look, just give it a time frame for, let's say, 2 years from now in the future, if you considered your endeavors successful, right, with what you're doing, what are some of the cornerstones that you would deem as success?
Well, one of the things that we are beginning to work on this year is rebranding the organization. I've said this for a long time, that even the name IHRSA is pretty outdated. A lot of folks don't know what it stands for. And as you do, say what it stands for, the International Health Sport Racquet Club Association, it's a mouthful. And it's,
that was actually one of my questions, Liz.
Yeah. And it's not as inclusive as we want it to be. I mean, it's frankly more exclusive when you say it that way. So it's been really important to me that we rebrand our organization in a way that is reflective of not only where we are today, but where we want to be in the future. And that is a very deliberate exercise that, that we're going to bring some of that old guard that we talked about earlier and some of the, fresh faces and fresh thinking into that process and make sure that we get it right. So I will see that as a success if we, can successfully rebrand ourselves. I also find success, and we've already seen it, by bringing some of these big clubs across the country that have left the membership. They've said for a long time, they don't see the value, but they are rejoining. And so that's been a very intentional mission for me, is to go after some of these and to get them back in the tent and to get them in a more powerful way. So I'm looking at restructuring our board and creating even another committee, a strategic advisory committee, that would be an opportunity for other members of our industry to participate and to have a say at the table. I really want to recognize our industry partners, and we've created an industry partner council for those that are maybe not necessarily brick and mortar clubs, but are providing technology, providing equipment, all sorts of things to our industry that are critical players to us. And they need, in my opinion, a seat on our board. So for me, I will see success when we have a new identity and we are structured a little bit differently. And then once all that happens, we can arrive on the scene with lawmakers in a really cohesive, strong, powerful way that we're starting to do already. We've been doing it over the last few months that we've been here, or that I've been here, but we're going to do it in a much more deliberate, visible, strong way, and with new partnerships and new organizations that need us and where we have the opportunity to lead.
When you said, Liz, that people had left, large health club chains or, individual owners of maybe say multiple locations or big locations, and now they're coming back. Where are they coming back?
I think because they believe. I mean, everybody in this industry is so passionate and really wants the best for people and for their communities. But if people are going to pay money to an organization, they want to believe in the mission and in the value that it's providing. And what I'm selling is something different. I'm selling more than a trade show, more than a magazine. I'm selling unity. I'm selling a narrative, and we need everybody at the table for that. And so far so good. It's only been, I think, 4 months, but I've had some hard conversations with some people that have been really disenfranchised and for a really long time, and that's fine. I'm not afraid of those conversations. They're some of the first ones that I wanted to go out and have, and so I'm having them every day, and we're going to keep it up. But they're coming back, which is exciting.
Good. When you mentioned partnerships that you guys are looking to establish and create, what give us some insights on that for maybe people who are listening? What type of partnerships do you see valuable at this point?
I mean, it's alphabet soup of all these organizations that I've been meeting with, but the American Council of Exercise, the American Medical Association, the American Heart Association, the Sport Fitness Industry Association. So there's all these groups that are somehow, have a role in, what we're all trying to do, but nobody has really been able to bring them together in a cohesive way as a really strong coalition together. And I've been building coalitions my entire time here in Washington, D.C., and I think you're always stronger with more numbers and, more power, and that's really important. another organization that I'm not afraid of is the YMCA. And, we've talked a long time in this industry about JCCs and Ys and the benefits that they get, and that's great. But, we need to crack the code on what is it going to be that we can advocate together. Because when you look at those communities, our community together, we are in every congressional district across the country. And so where are the opportunities for us to be partnering together and taking things further? And so I don't see things as competitors. I see things as opportunities. And so even I know there's been a lot of talk about Peloton, for example, and what that means, a home gym versus the gyms that we represent. But there are a lot of opportunities with companies like that we can work together on music rights and licensing and all sorts of opportunities. And when we realize the power and the leverage that we have, it's strong. And so the more of these voices and brands and organizations that we can get at the table, the stronger we'll be.
Yeah, you alluded to it earlier, and it's a carrot that's been dangled in the fitness industry for a long time, is making the fitness industry kind of primary healthcare, or a version of it, which generally means tying into insurance. Like, I know the FIT Act has been around for a while. I don't know to what level of success they've seen, but I first heard about it 8 years ago, and I haven't heard anything solid about it. So, when you look at that type of opportunity, do you think that is possible? Do you think insurance could cover gym memberships and health coaches and things like that? Or do you think we have a long way to go on that?
Eric, it's so funny you say that. Just earlier this morning, I was talking to an operator who is doing this. He's a club up in Maine, and he is an accredited provider of medical nutrition therapy, which is something that is part of the Affordable Care Act. And they are charging insurance companies to use their gym memberships and to talk to their registered dietitians. So it's a model that is in use right now. Now, was it easy to do that? Absolutely not. But what can we learn from clubs that have figured out how to do that? You mentioned FIT, and that is the type of area where I want to go in the future. I will say the FIT Act, which for those that followed it or not, but it was an opportunity to use health savings account dollars toward gym memberships. And actually, it made it through the House, and it was scheduled to get some time in the Senate, but then that all happened. It was the time of the Kavanaugh hearings, and everything sort of blew up, and then we lost, and then Congress adjourned, and so we weren't able to get it done at the time, and then the pandemic hits. So there was actually quite a bit of positive momentum around FIT, coming into days before the pandemic. So I do think that there are opportunities like that, opportunities to incentivize exercise, opportunities to work with the medical community to prescribe exercise. How do we make that a real thing? Not just your doctor saying, go exercise. How do we have the rubber meet the road there on that one? So I do think there are lots of opportunities on all of those areas and where we need to go in the future, because the dollars are running out for gyms relief. There is COVID fatigue from legislators on the Hill, doling out money. So we're going to continue to push for the Gyms Act and to push for relief. But what's next and what's over the horizon? And it's something in the incentivizing exercise and sort of health coalition space. I know it.
Yeah. Yeah. And for people who want to look it up, I believe the FIT Act is PHITT, if you want to Google it, if I'm correct. When you look at this, like what you're talking about, this role you're describing where, fitness can be prescribed, right? And health insurance, HSAs can be involved in that. What do you think it'll take? Like, what are the hot buttons on the legislative level? Like, what is it that people when you look at it in cold, hard truth, like what is it that you think would motivate them to do that? Is it, reductions in healthcare costs? Is it, there's got to be something. When I like in corporate health and wellness, just for example, like the ones I've seen that have been massively successful, it's like they actually address, the bottom line, right? That's what motivates corporations. That's just the truth of the thing. And, from a healthcare, paid sick time, productivity, all of that. And generally we're not talking like you can't just offer someone a gym membership because all it's going to happen is the same 10% of people who go to gyms before are just going to go to that gym anyway. So there's this world of people, we call them the 80%, and whether that number is correct or right, who just aren't motivated, or maybe they're not ready to raise their hand. And, that seems to be always the challenge. And I'm kind of going a circle here, but what do you think it's going to take to get people on the Hill to understand these are the group of people, we need to find ways to get to them?
Yeah. Well, I had an interesting conversation at our trade show in Dallas with a member, and he said, we keep talking about the other 80%, but let's just talk about the next 5%. And I thought that was, a good way to look at it.
That's great.
And, because what is it that's going to incentivize? And you have to measure it. And if you measure it and if you reward it, then people will do it. So, where, the cold hard truth on things like on an HSA is, you have to look at, there are two very different, right, schools of thoughts with legislators, right, between Republicans and Democrats. And I don't want to overgeneralize, but one side of the coin feels that it's really only wealthy people that have HSAs to begin with. And so why are we going to allow wealthy people to, use this to go to their gym membership and drink smoothies, right? Like that's their perspective is,
Sure.
On one side of the coin. The other is, we want to be very fiscally conservative, and we don't want to, just waste money on things that have no impact on, in general. But to the point that you can tie it to healthcare savings is real. And that's part of the reason why I want to build out what I'm calling a health coalition right now. But I think insurance companies are going to be people that are some of the first people that I meet with, because insurance companies aren't battling us. I mean, for God's sakes, it would cost them, a heck of a lot less money to help incentivize people to go exercise than to pay for a quadruple bypass. So I think, insurance companies have a lot to gain from this. And so if we can match our points and our ask on that, I think that will be really compelling. And it has to be broader than that, but it also has to be measurable. And, then you get into HIPAA and all kinds of other, challenges. But we've seen people that are really interested in this. And so I think that that's something interesting where we could go and what really might move the needle.
Yeah. Awesome. When you look at maybe some of the better things that come out of the pandemic for the fitness and health industry, what do you see? Let's, kind of give an optimistic look. What have you seen so far?
Well, I love it that people are going outside more, I have to say. And, we've seen everybody, they're spending more time with their family. They're having a more balanced lifestyle in some instances, right? In other instances, people say, oh, yeah, we're working from home, but really many of us are living at work. So that's not necessarily, a good thing that's come out of this. But, I like it that you're seeing golf courses full, ski slopes full, lakes full of fishermen, the sidewalks full, people walking dogs. So people are getting out and they're hopefully moving more. And I think that will be a trend, that's here to stay. And I think that's been a positive.
Yeah. Awesome. This is a question I love to ask people. I know you're, still kind of getting your footing within the fitness industry, but you mentioned Peloton, things like that. When you look at technology and its effect on the industry over the last few years and moving forward, I guess two things. What has you most excited about technology? And then how do you see like technological partners coming in for IHRSA, and who are you guys looking to partner with?
Yeah. Well, listen, I mean, technology is here to stay. And in many instances, that's what saved us. And, the models of those that figured out either a hybrid situation of, offering, trainers or classes and whatnot in different formats, but that's not going anywhere. And I think that that's a good thing. I think that it will increase accessibility to those that maybe are not comfortable, physically going into a gym. Those that don't have the means to, get to a gym. So I think that there's a lot of great things and great opportunities in technology. Do I think it's going to replace old-fashioned exercising in a gym? I don't, but I do think that it has an important role in being part of the solution. And many of our people in this industry have figured that out to their credit, and been able to offer very creative, opportunities and tracking and measuring that is so exciting. And technologies for even some of those things that I just talked about, measuring, your golf game, measuring your walks, measuring, what that means, your sleep patterns. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening, and I'm sure that, that it's going to be an area that we're going to continue to embrace.
Awesome. Kind of bringing it back to your experience so far personally, right? Like today, we kind of joked you're going to be, within a few minutes here, you're going to go on the Today Show. And I'm curious, like what are some things that you're planning on talking about for that? And then what other unexpected places have you found yourself since being the CEO of IHRSA?
Yeah, well, listen, so my message today is going to be first about the impact that the pandemic has had on our industry that's been devastating, and we talked all about that at the beginning of this podcast. Next is that, Omicron has knocked us down again. And so, we need relief, and that this is one of the main reasons why. And then I want to tie it back to the, all of the things that we're doing with medicine and the medical community, and then hopefully wrap it up with a bow with some, legislation that we're pushing here at the end. Of course, you never know how things are going to go. Could be but that's my vision of how I would like the conversation to go. Where have I found myself? Where have I unexpectedly found myself? That's a good question. I it's my first time as a CEO, and so that's been an interesting process. That the buck stops with me. If there's a head to be taken off, it's mine. And if there's finances that aren't being taken care of and run appropriately, that's on me. And so it's been a pretty steep learning curve for somebody that came, strictly from the government affairs space. Now, I've been in association management for a long time, but it's been pretty eye-opening as to what that means, and to look at what kind of staff, you need and want around yourself, and who are going to be the team that you need on the field moving forward. So it's been an all-out sprint. Somebody asked me, they said, "How's it going?" I'm like, I feel like I'm like sprinting a marathon, and I'm ready for some water. I'm ready, to take a nap, and but that's what the holidays were for. And now, here we are off to 2022, and we're gonna get sprinting again.
Yeah. I do want to respect your time here. So I guess one of the final questions I have for you, Liz, is who would you like to be hearing from? Like if people are listening to this, like what type of partnerships or outreach is interesting to you right now? And just for people to know, obviously they can tell from our conversation at dates, it is the 4th of January, 2022. What kind of conversations are you looking to have with your limited time right now?
I'll tell you, Eric, it's kind of funny. I'm not doing a great job of deciphering that. I'm saying I want to hear from everybody. That, I want to know the good, the bad, the ugly. as long as my, as long as my assistant can keep up. But she's got me on a pretty packed schedule because I learned something in every one of these conversations that I have. And so while I'm talking to members who have been long members that have a lot of learnings to share with us, and like I said, I'm talking to non-members and people that have been really frustrated. I'm talking to other organizations. I'm talking to other government affairs operations here in DC. I'm talking to lawmakers who are my friends and people that I've, long-standing relationships with. I'm talking to other association CEOs. So it's one of those questions, sometimes people ask you like, oh, tell me about, what's your typical day? And there is no typical day. So I do want to, I want to hear from as many people as I can and as many people as my schedule will allow. It's why I am trying my best to get out and do as many sort of speaking engagements as I can. So even in my first few months, I spoke at the technology summit, the fitness technology summit. I spoke at Club Industry. I am soon going to be speaking to Fitness Connected. Of course, we had our trade show. So any opportunities like that where, there are larger audiences, of course, that's better because, then the word gets, out farther and wider. But anybody can reach out to me anytime.
Awesome. Well, let's leave it at that then. Where do people reach out to you if you want to send people online? Where's the best place?
Yeah. So, check out our website, IHRSA.org, IHRSA.org. And there's all kinds of great information on there, webinars, research, data, really, really great stuff. And then you can get all of our, staff emails and see what we're doing there. But, my email is lclark@IHRSA.org. And that's usually the best way to reach me is email. You might hear back from me at midnight. So, I do have 3 kids and I work all day and then I've got to do a little bit of parenting and then I, tend to get back on it and work at night. So if you're getting an email from me, late at night, that's not an abnormal thing.
That's awesome. You probably just got added to like 100 different email lists. So hopefully that didn't happen. Well, Liz, thank you so much for spending some time with me. It was great to hear the vision of IHRSA, and it's just good to see fresh face at the front of this thing and seeing what you're doing. So keep up the great work. Let me know if I can help you with anything. And ladies and gentlemen, Liz Clark.
Thank you so much, Eric. You have a great rest of your day. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, wait, don't leave yet. This is your host, Eric Malzone, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Future of Fitness. If you did, I'm going to ask you to do 3 simple things. It takes under 5 minutes, and it goes such a long way. We really appreciate it. Number 1, please subscribe to our show wherever you listen to it, iTunes, Spotify, CastBox, whatever it may be. Number 2, please leave us a favorable review. Number 3, share. Put it on social media, talk about it to your friends, send it in a text message, whatever it may be. Please share this episode because we put a lot of work into it and we want to make sure that as many people are getting value out of it as possible. Lastly, if you'd like to learn more or get in touch with me, simply go to thefutureoffitness.co. You can subscribe to our newsletter there, or you can simply get in touch with me, as I love to hear from our listeners. So thank you so much. This is Eric Malzone, and this is The Future of Fitness. Have a great day.